Tom bought the rusty train car on a cold morning when the sky looked pale and tired. The train car stood beside an old rail line that no one used anymore. Rust covered the metal like a rough skin. The windows were cracked, and the door squeaked like it was warning him to leave. Most people saw it as trash. Tom saw it as a chance. The deal was simple. The owner wanted it gone and did not care where it ended up. Tom handed over his savings with steady hands. He did not smile wide or celebrate. He just nodded, as if he had been waiting for this moment for years. When he signed the paper, the man selling it raised his eyebrows like Tom had lost his mind. By afternoon, the news was already everywhere. People talked in shops, at the tea stall, and outside the small market. The same line kept repeating in different voices. Tom bought a train car and thinks he can live in it. Some laughed like it was a funny story. Some spoke with pity, as if Tom was a person who had run out of options. A few looked curious, but they did not say it out loud. Tom lived in a small rented room before this. It was not a bad room, but it was cramped and always felt like someone else owned the air. He worked simple jobs. Sometimes he fixed fences. Sometimes he painted walls. Sometimes he helped carry goods for shop owners. He did not complain. He saved every extra coin. He did not drink away his money. He did not waste it on loud things to show people he mattered. He wanted something different, something that belonged only to him. That evening, Tom walked to the rail line with a bag on his shoulder. The bag held a blanket, a bottle of water, a loaf of bread, and a small notebook. He also carried a toolbox that looked heavy for one person. The road was uneven, and stones pressed into his shoes. He kept walking anyway. A group of neighbors stood near the rail line as if it was a show. They did not step close, but they did not leave either. They watched Tom unlock the door of the train car. The door resisted, then gave way with a loud groan. Someone laughed and covered their mouth. Another person shook their head and whispered that Tom would be back in his rented room by next week. Tom did not answer them. He stepped inside and closed the door behind him. The sound of the latch made the space feel smaller and quieter. Inside, the train car was darker than Tom expected. Dust floated in thin lines where sunlight slipped through tiny gaps. The air smelled of metal, old wood, and rain that had lived here for years. The floor had patches that felt soft underfoot, and Tom could tell some boards were weak. He walked slowly, testing each step like a careful guest. Near one corner, he found an old hook on the wall. Near the middle, he found a broken bench bolted to the floor. The ceiling had stains like maps. Most people would have felt disgust. Tom felt focus. He looked around as if he was studying a puzzle. He imagined what could be cleaned, what could be replaced, and what could be used in a new way. He set down his bag and opened the notebook. He wrote a simple title on the first page: Train Car Home Plan. Then he began listing what he needed: strong floor, clean water storage, light source, proper insulation, ventilation, safe door lock, a place to cook, a place to sleep, a table for work. He wrote slowly, and he kept his handwriting neat. Each word felt like a small promise. Night came early. The wind pushed against the metal walls and made them creak. Tom laid his blanket on the floor near the center, where the boards felt strongest. He ate bread and drank water. He did not feel sorry for himself. He did not feel embarrassed. The outside voices were just noise. The inside of his mind was clear. Rain started after midnight. It hit the roof with hard taps that turned into a steady drum. The sound was loud, but it was not scary. Tom lay awake, listening. He noticed where the rain sounded sharper. That meant the roof had thin spots. He memorized those places without moving his head much. Then he sat up, found his notebook, and wrote: roof leaks near right side. Patch needed. He wrote another line: seal window gaps. In the morning, he woke with stiff shoulders and a calm face. He stepped outside and saw a thin fog hovering above the weeds. The neighbors were gone. The rail line looked empty again, like yesterday was never real. Tom breathed in the cold air and looked at the train car from the outside. It was ugly, yes, but it was also solid in a strange way. The wheels were still strong. The frame was still standing. The metal could still protect him if he treated it right. He walked to a small yard where people sold used materials. The owner was a man named Sam. Sam had a round face and a slow smile. He looked at Tom and asked what he needed. Tom said he wanted sturdy boards, some screws, and sealing tape. Sam laughed lightly and asked what big project Tom was planning. Tom said he was fixing a train car. Sam stopped smiling for a second. Then he laughed again, louder, like he thought it was a joke. Tom did not argue. He pointed at the boards and asked for a fair price. Sam's laughter faded into curiosity. He gave Tom a discount, partly because he wanted to see what would happen. Tom loaded the boards onto a small cart and pulled them back to the rail line with effort. His arms strained, and his breath came heavy, but he kept moving. By late morning, the sound of work began. Hammer hits. Wood tapping. Metal scraping. The train car that had been silent for years now made new noises. Tom started with the floor. He lifted damaged boards and replaced them one by one. He cleaned the dust underneath and checked for weak spots. He worked slowly because he did not want mistakes. Each time he placed a board, he pressed down on it with his foot to test strength. A few people passed by and slowed their steps. They looked at him through the open door. One man called out, asking if Tom needed help. The tone did not feel kind. It felt like someone offering help so they could later say he failed anyway. Tom smiled and said he was fine. The man shrugged and walked away, still amused. Tom kept working. He found old nails that were bent and removed them. He sanded rough edges so no one would get splinters. He wiped the walls with a cloth dipped in soapy water. The cloth turned black quickly. He cleaned again. Then again. Slowly, the inside looked less like a forgotten storage box and more like a place where a person could breathe. At noon, he stepped out and sat on a stone. He drank water and ate another piece of bread. His hands had small cuts, but he did not seem bothered. He looked at the town in the distance. He could almost hear people talking. He imagined them saying he was trying too hard. He imagined them saying it was impossible. He did not let those thoughts stay long. He returned to the train car and continued. By evening, the floor felt different underfoot. It no longer bent in soft spots. It felt steady. Tom stood inside and looked around. The train car was still rusty on the outside and still ugly to the town, but inside, the first layer of change had begun. The air felt a little cleaner. The space felt a little more like it belonged to him. As the sun lowered, someone approached the rail line. Tom heard footsteps and paused. A young boy named Ollie stood at the door, holding a small bag. Ollie was known for running errands around town and asking too many questions. He looked inside with wide eyes. Ollie asked if Tom really lived here. Tom nodded. Ollie asked why. Tom did not give a long speech. He said he wanted to build something with his own hands. He said he wanted a place that did not feel borrowed. Ollie stared at the new boards on the floor and the clean patches on the wall. He did not laugh. He looked impressed, even if he did not fully understand. Ollie then reached into his bag and pulled out a small lantern. He said his mother was getting rid of it and thought Tom could use it. Tom accepted it with a quiet thank you. Ollie smiled and ran off before Tom could say more. Tom placed the lantern on the broken bench and lit it. Warm light filled the train car and made the metal walls look less cold. Tom sat down and opened his notebook again. He wrote a new line under his plan. Tomorrow, start the hidden build. He looked around one more time. The train car was still just a shell. People were still laughing. But Tom's eyes held a steady confidence that did not need words. The town thought Tom had moved into a rusty box. Tom knew he had moved into a beginning, The second morning arrived with a thin layer of frost on the ground. Tom stepped out of the train car and rubbed his hands together to warm them. His breath turned white in the air. The train car looked the same from outside, rusty and rough, but Tom knew the inside was slowly changing. That thought gave him energy. He lit the small lantern Ollie had given him and placed it near the door. The soft light helped him see better as he worked. Tom opened his toolbox and took out a measuring tape. He measured the length of the train car carefully. He measured the width and the height. He wrote every number in his notebook. He was not guessing. He wanted everything to fit perfectly. Most people in town believed Tom was only fixing the floor to survive for a few days. They did not know he had a deeper plan. He wanted to build something hidden inside the train car. Not hidden in a secret way, but hidden in plain sight. A place that looked simple but worked smart. Tom started by cleaning again. He scrubbed the walls until his arms felt tired. He cleaned the ceiling where he could reach. He wiped the windows and removed broken glass carefully. He covered the sharp edges so no one would get hurt. Each small task made the place safer and calmer. By mid-morning, footsteps returned to the rail line. 2 men from town stopped nearby. They watched silently for a moment. One of them whispered something and laughed. The other pointed at the train car and shook his head. Tom noticed them but did not react. He kept sanding a wooden board until it felt smooth under his fingers. After they left, Tom moved to the center of the train car. He placed chalk marks on the floor. These marks showed where he wanted walls to go. Not full walls, but partial ones. He planned to divide the space without making it feel tight. One section would be for sleeping. One section would be for working. Another section would be for storing things. Everything had a reason. He built the first frame using wooden beams. He measured twice before cutting. The sound of sawing echoed across the empty rail line. The smell of fresh wood mixed with the smell of old metal. Slowly, the frame stood upright. It did not touch the ceiling. It gave the feeling of separation without blocking light. As he worked, Tom remembered the small room he once rented. The landlord never fixed leaks. The walls were thin. Noise from neighbors came through at all hours. Tom never felt peace there. He realized now that peace did not come from size or cost. It came from control and care. Around noon, Sam from the material yard walked by. He had not planned to visit, but curiosity pulled him there. He stood at the door and looked inside. His eyes widened slightly. He saw the new floor, the clean walls, and the wooden frame taking shape. Sam asked Tom what he was really building. Tom paused and wiped sweat from his forehead. He said he was building a home that worked hard for him. Sam did not fully understand, but he could see effort and thought in every corner. Sam nodded and said he had some extra insulation sheets that might help. He said Tom could have them for cheap. Tom thanked him sincerely. The insulation sheets changed everything. Tom installed them between the metal wall and thin wooden panels. This helped keep warmth inside and noise outside. The train car felt quieter almost immediately. The cold metal no longer touched the air directly. Tom smiled to himself when he noticed the difference. In the afternoon, Ollie returned. This time he came slower and stayed near the door. He watched Tom work without speaking. Tom asked if Ollie wanted to help. Ollie nodded eagerly. Tom gave him simple tasks. Holding boards steady. Passing screws. Sweeping dust. Ollie worked carefully and asked questions about every step. Tom explained why he placed things the way he did. He talked about balance and airflow. He talked about how light affects mood. Ollie listened like he was learning something important, not just about building, but about thinking ahead. As the sun moved lower, the inside of the train car looked very different. Wooden panels covered parts of the walls. The frame now supported shelves. Tom built storage into the walls instead of placing bulky boxes. Every shelf had a purpose. Tools on one side. food items on another, books and notebooks on a higher shelf. One of the shelves opened differently. It looked normal from the outside, but when Tom pressed a hidden latch, it folded down into a small table. Ali's eyes widened when he saw it. He said it looked like magic. Tom laughed softly and said it was just planning. The laughter from town did not stop that day. People still passed by and whispered. Some pointed. Some shook their heads. But something new began to happen. The whispers changed tone. They were no longer only jokes. Some sounded confused. Some sounded curious. A woman from the town stopped near the rail line and asked if Tom was really staying there for winter. Tom said yes. She looked doubtful but did not laugh. She said she admired his courage, even if she did not understand his choice. Tom thanked her politely. As evening came, Tom lit the lantern again. The light reflected off the wooden panels and gave the space a warm glow. It no longer felt like a forgotten object. It felt like a living place. The air felt steady. The floor felt strong. The noise from outside felt distant. Tom sat at the fold-down table and opened his notebook. He reviewed his list. Many items were crossed out. Floor done. Insulation started. Storage built. Light source secured. He added new tasks. Water system. Cooking area. Final interior layer. He also wrote a note to himself. Make it beautiful, not just useful. This line mattered to him. He did not want to survive. He wanted to live with dignity. Ollie stood near the door and asked if people would stop laughing one day. Tom looked around the train car and then looked at Ollie. He said people laugh when they see the beginning but go silent when they see the result. Ollie smiled like he believed him. When Ollie left, the rail line became quiet again. Tom lay down on his blanket, which now rested on a raised wooden base he had built. He felt warmer than the night before. The metal walls no longer felt cold and threatening. They felt like protection. Outside, the town slept with its old ideas. Inside the train car, a new idea was taking shape. It was not finished yet. Not even close. But the foundation was strong. Tom closed his eyes knowing that tomorrow, the real surprise would begin. The third morning felt different from the start. Tom woke up before sunrise, not because of noise or cold, but because his mind was full of ideas. He sat up slowly and looked around the train car. The wooden panels, shelves, and frame were now part of his daily view. The space no longer felt strange. It felt familiar, like it was learning his presence. He washed his face outside using cold water from a bottle. The sky was still dark blue, and the town lights were fading. Tom liked this quiet time. It felt like the world had not yet decided what it wanted to say about him today. Tom stepped back inside and opened his notebook. Today's main goal was important. He planned to build the inner core of the train car. This was the part no one expected. It was not about looks alone. It was about function and comfort working together. He began by marking the floor again, this time closer to the center. He planned a compact cooking area and a water system. He had studied simple designs for weeks before buying the train car. He knew how to make things work without wasting space. Tom carried in a large container he had bought cheaply. He cleaned it thoroughly and placed it under a small counter he built from leftover wood. This container would hold water. Above it, he installed a hand pump connected to a simple pipe. When he tested it, clean water flowed into a small metal sink he had fixed in place. Tom stood there for a moment and watched the water. He felt proud, but he did not celebrate loudly. By mid-morning, the sound of work filled the rail line again. The steady rhythm of tools became familiar to those passing by. Some slowed down to watch. Some pretended not to care but still glanced over. The laughter had softened into silence. Ollie arrived again, but this time he brought his older sister Mina. Mina was known in town for speaking her mind. She had heard about the changes and wanted to see for herself. When she stepped inside the train car, She stopped walking. Her eyes moved slowly from the floor to the walls, then to the shelves and the water setup. She did not say anything for a long moment. Then she said she did not expect this. Her voice was calm, not mocking. She asked Tom how long he planned to live there. Tom said he planned to stay as long as it felt right. Mina nodded. She said the place felt peaceful. That word stayed in the air longer than any laughter ever had. Tom continued his work. He built a compact cooking area using safe materials. He ensured airflow by adding vents near the roof. He tested them carefully, opening and closing them until the air moved smoothly. He did not rush. Every step mattered. By afternoon, the train car smelled of fresh wood and clean metal instead of rust. Sunlight entered through the windows and reflected off the lighter surfaces. The space felt open, even though it was small. Tom believed that smart design could change how people felt inside a space. A group of townspeople gathered outside without planning it. They did not stand too close, but they watched. One man whispered that it looked better than his shed. Another said Tom might actually make it work. No one laughed. Tom built a raised sleeping platform near the back. Under it, he created drawers for clothes and tools. The bed area felt separate but connected. He added a small reading light above it. When he turned it on, the warm glow made the corner feel calm and inviting. Later in the day, Sam returned with a bundle of wires and a small solar panel. He said he had no use for them anymore. Tom understood what Sam was really saying. Sam wanted to be part of this story now. Tom accepted the items with gratitude. With careful effort, Tom installed the solar panel outside where it could catch sunlight. Inside, he connected it to a small battery and basic lighting system. When he flipped the switch and the lights came on, the train car looked completely different. It no longer depended on the town for power. It stood on its own. Ollie clapped softly when the lights turned on. Mina smiled. Even Sam looked impressed. As evening approached, people began stopping by more openly. They asked questions. How did you learn this? Was it expensive? Is it safe? Tom answered honestly. He said he learned slowly by reading and trying. He said it was cheaper than rent over time. He said safety came from care and patience. One woman said she wished she had the courage to do something like this. Tom replied that courage grows when people stop waiting for permission. The woman nodded, thoughtful. When night fell, the train car glowed gently from the inside. The rusty exterior still looked the same, but now it felt like a shell protecting something valuable. Tom sat at his fold-down table and ate a warm meal he cooked himself. It was simple food, but it tasted better than anything he remembered. He wrote in his notebook again. Water system complete. Cooking area complete. Power system started. He paused before writing the next line. He wrote, Tomorrow, the reveal begins. Tom knew the town had not seen everything yet. They saw improvements, yes. But they had not seen the true heart of his work. He had saved the most surprising part for last. Before sleeping, Tom stepped outside. The night air was cool, and the stars were clear. He looked at the train car from a distance. For the first time, he noticed people standing quietly nearby, just looking. No jokes. No shaking heads. Tom returned inside and closed the door. He lay down on his bed and felt a deep sense of calm. He was no longer proving anything to anyone. He was building a life that felt honest. The town had laughed at the rusty train car. Now it was watching with growing respect. And the biggest change was still waiting to be seen. The fourth day began with quiet excitement. Tom woke up feeling rested and focused. The train car felt warm and steady around him. The soft light from the small system turned on smoothly, and he smiled at how natural it felt now. This place no longer felt like a project. It felt like home. Tom knew today mattered more than the days before. He was ready to work on the part he had planned since the beginning. This was the idea that had pushed him to save money, ignore laughter, and trust his own vision. He started by clearing the center space of the train car. He folded the table, moved a chair, and rolled up a mat. The floor beneath looked plain, but Tom knew what was hidden there. He lifted a section of the floor carefully. Underneath was a strong frame he had built earlier without anyone noticing. Ollie arrived early again, almost running this time. He had told others in town that something special was coming. Mina followed him, and behind them came Sam. They did not speak loudly. It felt like they were entering a place that deserved respect. Tom removed the floor panel completely. Beneath it was a wide storage space, deeper than anyone expected. Inside were neatly arranged boxes, tools, and materials. Tom explained that this space helped keep the main area clean and open. But that was not the surprise yet. He reached into the storage space and unlocked a second hidden panel. With careful movement, he pulled up a compact structure. It unfolded slowly, like a puzzle coming together. It became a long work desk with built-in compartments and supports. Ali's mouth opened in shock. Mina stepped closer. Sam let out a low whistle. Tom explained that the desk could be folded away when not needed. He had designed it so the train car could change based on the time of day. During the day, it could be a workspace. At night, it could return to an open living area. Tom placed a few items on the desk. Books, tools, papers. The space suddenly looked like a workshop, an office, and a study all at once. It was not just a place to sleep. It was a place to create. More people gathered outside. Word had spread faster than Tom expected. People stood quietly and waited. Some asked if they could come inside. Tom said yes, but asked them to be careful. They stepped in slowly, one by one. Their faces showed surprise. Some smiled. Some looked thoughtful. No one laughed. Tom then showed another feature. He opened a panel on the wall near the shelves. Inside was a vertical garden system. Small plants grew in neat rows, supported by a simple water cycle he had built. The plants were fresh and green. They cleaned the air and added life to the space. A woman touched one of the leaves gently and said she never imagined something like this inside a train car. Tom said life grows where it is cared for. The woman nodded and repeated the words quietly. The air inside the train car felt different now. It felt alive. The sound of people breathing, whispering, and moving carefully replaced the old noise of laughter. Tom showed how the vents worked together with the plants to keep the air fresh. He explained how sunlight reached inside through angled panels he had installed. He showed how every part had more than one purpose. Someone asked Tom why he went through all this effort instead of buying a normal place. Tom answered calmly. He said normal places never felt like his own. He said he wanted a space that reflected his values. Simple, flexible, honest. The town leader arrived later that afternoon. He had heard many stories and wanted to see for himself. When he entered the train car, he removed his hat without realizing it. He walked slowly, touching the wooden walls and looking at the systems. He said Tom had not just built a home. He had built an idea. An idea about how people could live with less waste and more thought. Tom listened quietly and thanked him. As the sun moved lower, light filled the train car in a soft golden tone. The plants glowed. The wood looked warm. The metal no longer felt cold. People sat on the foldable seats and talked calmly. Some shared stories. Some asked Tom for advice. A young man said he had an old shed he wanted to fix instead of tearing down. A woman said she wanted to grow plants at home now. The train car had become more than a home. It had become inspiration. When evening came, most people left slowly. They did not rush away. They looked back one last time before walking off. The rail line felt different now. It felt respected. Ollie stayed behind. He asked Tom if this was what he planned from the start. Tom said yes and no. He said the idea was clear, but the details grew as he worked. He said building teaches you what you need if you listen. That night, Tom cooked a simple meal and shared it with Ollie and Mina. They sat at the foldable desk and talked about the future. Mina said she never thought she would admire a train car. Ollie said he wanted to build something like this one day. After they left, Tom cleaned the space and folded everything back into place. The train car returned to its calm state. He lay on his bed and listened to the quiet. Outside, the town no longer saw a rusty object. They saw possibility. Tom closed his eyes knowing one final step remained. Tomorrow would not be about building. It would be about showing the world why this place truly mattered. The story of the train car was almost complete, but its meaning was just beginning. The fifth morning arrived softly, without noise or rush. Tom woke up and stayed still for a moment. He listened to the gentle sounds inside the train car. The quiet hum of the small power system. The faint movement of air through the vents. The calm silence felt earned. Tom stood up and looked around. Everything was in its place. The shelves were neat. The plants looked healthy. The floor was clean and strong. This space had been shaped by his hands and his patience. Today was not a work day. Today was a sharing day. Word had already spread across the town. People were curious, not mocking. They wanted to understand what Tom had done and why it mattered. Some wanted to see it again. Some had not seen it at all. Tom stepped outside and opened the door wide. The train car welcomed the daylight. The rusty exterior stayed the same, but now it felt like a guard instead of a problem. Tom placed a small sign near the door made from scrap wood. It said "Welcome inside." Simple words. Honest words. The first to arrive was Sam. He brought fresh bread without saying much. Then Mina came with Ollie. After that, more people followed. Families. Workers. Elders. They came slowly, respectfully. Tom greeted each person with the same calm smile. Inside, people moved carefully. They asked questions. How long did this take? What was the hardest part? Would you change anything? Tom answered with honesty. He said the hardest part was trusting himself. He said mistakes taught him more than success. He said he would always keep learning. A man from town said he never thought a train car could feel warm. A woman said the place felt peaceful. Someone else said it felt thoughtful. Tom listened more than he spoke. He believed good spaces should speak for themselves. Later that morning, the town leader returned. He stood near the door and addressed the small crowd. He said Tom had shown everyone something important. He said value does not come from shine or size. It comes from care and intention. People nodded. Some clapped softly. Tom felt his face warm, but he stayed humble. He did not build this for praise. He built it for peace. As the day went on, conversations grew deeper. People talked about unused spaces around town. Old sheds. Empty rooms. Broken furniture. They talked about fixing instead of throwing away. The train car had changed how they looked at what they already had. Ollie walked around proudly, showing people the foldable desk and the hidden storage. Mina explained the plant system and how it helped the air. Sam talked about the materials and how much could be reused if people tried. Tom watched quietly, feeling something new. Not pride. Purpose. In the afternoon, a teacher from the town school arrived with a few students. She asked Tom if he would talk to them about building and planning. Tom hesitated at first. Then he agreed. He believed knowledge should move forward. He spoke simply. He said building is not about tools alone. It is about patience. It is about respect for space. It is about solving problems step by step. The students listened closely. One of them asked if anyone could do this. Tom said yes, if they are willing to learn and fail sometimes. As the sun moved lower, the crowd slowly thinned. People thanked Tom before leaving. Some shook his hand. Some just smiled. The rail line returned to calm, but it was not empty anymore. It held memory now. When the last visitor left, Tom closed the door gently. The train car felt quiet again, but not lonely. It felt complete. Tom cooked a simple meal and sat at the foldable desk. He ate slowly and looked around. This space had started as a joke to others. Now it was a lesson. Not only for the town, but for himself. He opened his notebook one last time. He flipped through the pages. Measurements, lists, notes, sketches. Each page told a story of effort. On the final page, he wrote one sentence. Build with care, and life will follow. That evening, rain began to fall again. It tapped against the metal roof like before, but now the sound felt softer. The insulation held warmth inside. The plants stood steady. The space felt safe. Tom lay on his bed and closed his eyes. He thought about the first day when people laughed. He thought about the empty space and the cold floor. He thought about the moment the lights first turned on. He thought about the faces of people today. The laughter had not hurt him then. It had only tested him. What mattered was that he stayed true to his vision. Outside, the train car still looked rusty and old. But everyone who passed by now knew the truth. Inside that rough shell lived comfort, thought, and quiet strength. Tom did not change the train car to impress the town. He changed it to reflect who he was. And in doing so, he changed how the town saw possibility. The story spread beyond the rail line. People talked about the man who turned forgotten metal into a meaningful home. Some came to see it from nearby places. Some left inspired to start their own small projects. Tom welcomed them all with the same calm smile. The rusty train car never became shiny. It never became fancy. It became something better. It became proof that when someone believes in their idea and works with patience, even the most unlikely place can turn into a home.